Hi and welcome to Outwell and to the Birdland 5E from our deluxe collection. This is a family-sized tunnel design tent that can sleep up to 5 people. It has our bedrooms at the back and a large sealed living space at the front, which we'll show you in detail shortly. First of all though, we'll go through the features on the outside of the tent. So with it being from our deluxe collection, you'll find the fly sheet we're using on here is our Outex 4000. It's a good quality taffeta polyester, so you should expect this to last a good long time. On the inside it's been fully PU coated, and then all of the seams have been fully taped as well to ensure that the tent is completely waterproof with a hydrostatic head of 4,000 millimeters. So even in heavy rainfall you're going to stay dry in this tent. The frame that we use on this tent is made up of 2 different types of poles. We have the Duratec fiberglass at the front canopy here and also at the back. And then in the middle we have this solid steel pole. So the Duratec fiberglass poles are a little bit different to standard fiberglass. What you'll notice on here is that they have a protective sheath around the outside of them that just make them a little bit stronger than standard fiberglass in higher wind conditions. And with the use of the steel pole at the front, that adds quite a lot of stability to the tent as well. What you will find is we then colour code all of the pole sleeves to ensure that when you're pitching the tent, it's going to be nice and easy to make sure that you get the right pole in the right place. We also have our wind stabiliser system on this tent, and I'll show you how that works. So this is what we have. When we set the tent up, we simply wrap these around the pole, and you'll find there's one at the top and at the bottom of each of the poles all the way around. This is where we then attach our guy lines, and when we peg these out, that pulls all of the fabric against the frame of the tent and makes the whole thing much more taut and therefore much more stable. Some other highlights is that we have these reflective points all the way around the tent, so in the dark when you're wearing a head torch, or if you have a handheld torch, these will light up to be able to see them clearly. All of the guy lines all the way around the tent are also luminous, so hopefully that should stop you tripping over them quite as easily as well. When it comes to taking the tent down, all we have to do is wrap up the guy lines and pop them into their own retainers, which you can just see here. That way, when you come to use the tent again, the guy lines are going to be easily accessible and they're not going to be tangled up in a mess that you have to waste time untangling. We also provide you with our easy pegging system with this tent, and that's where we have 3 different types of peg supplied. So we have the solid steel peg here, which is for the corners of the tent, and these would go into the grey pegging points. We then have the black plastic peg for all of the black pegging points, and we have the luminous peg for all of the luminous guy lines, making sure that it's easy for you to get the right peg in the right place. So coming around the front of the tent here, I mentioned the canopy earlier on. I just want to highlight this great feature. So it's on here just to give the front entrance of the tent good shelter if it's a little bit wet or drizzly. Obviously that's going to cover the front door. The door itself is a good size. It's nice and wide, so you can get all of your kit in and out of the tent really easily. It's also full walk-in height as well. I mean, I'm quite tall here, and you can see that I can walk in here absolutely no problem at all. So one thing I do want to talk about is the name of the tent. It's called the Birdland 5E, and I'm sure you've been wondering this whole time what the E stands for. And I'll tell you, it is for our extended canopy system. Now, I'm pointing at this door because when you take the door out, you will find that we have our extended canopy, and we'll show you now how that works. Now, the extended canopy system actually just involves this piece of material that's already attached to the door, and all we have to do is simply just unzip this down the sides, and we can change this position either to come straight down here just to give you a little bit more shade or shelter, or we can also have it going out the front as a double length extended canopy. So here you can see that what we have created is a good sheltered and private area. Now, with the use of 2 additional upright poles and 2 guy lines, we can now take this piece of material out, as I said earlier on, to create a double length extended canopy. You'll also find that at the front of the tent here we have a full mesh door which is just rolled away at the moment, and what that allows for is great ventilation within the tent. we have large ventilation panels on both sides, but we also have this full mesh door, so you can leave the waterproof door rolled up, and you can then zip down the mesh door, like I say, to allow for great ventilation, but hopefully keeping out those unwanted bugs. We have large windows within the tent, which floods the place with light, making it feel nice and spacious. If you do want a little bit more privacy, or if you don't want quite as much light coming into the tent, then we can take the curtains either halfway up, or these can be fully closed as well. And here we have the mesh ventilation on the sides that I just mentioned there. We do have the panels on the outside though, so if it gets a little bit too chilly, then we can just close those over just to keep the tent a little bit more comfortable. The ground sheet that we use in here is fully sealed from front to back and side to side, and it is a bathtub style ground sheet, so you can see that it comes up at the edges just around here. So with it being bathtub style, that's going to stop any draft from coming in. It's going to keep out dirt and dust and sand, and again, more importantly, hopefully keep out those unwanted creepy crawlies too. We have a lantern hanging point at the front of the tent, which you won't be able to see from the angle of the camera here, but what we then have is some cable tidies that run all the way down and around to where we have our cable entry point here, which is quite clearly marked at the front of the tent. This is just a zip that will allow you access into the tent without having to have the main door open. At the back of the tent is where the bedrooms are, and as I mentioned earlier on, the tent can sleep up to 5 people. A really nice feature here is that the bedroom comes pre-attached, so the first time you come to pitch the tent, this bedroom is already in place, so that's a job that you don't need to worry about. How we attach the bedroom to the fly sheet is using our waved-shaped hanging point system, and while this is very nice in terms of style and design, it also has a great function of taking any of the stress off of this top seam of the bedroom, and that is well and securely hung into position. Some other features on the bedrooms, we have these handy storage pockets on the outside. You'll see that the bedroom doors themselves have got mesh panels, again for good ventilation properties too. Inside the bedroom, we have another large ventilation panel across the back, which again corresponds to panelling on the fly sheet of the tent. And we also have down here some handy mesh pockets for smaller personal possessions. You can also just see here that we separate the 2 bedrooms with this zipped sheet here, which can just be unzipped and rolled up to create one large bedroom, or of course, as we have here, like 2 separate bedrooms. There are a few optional extras available for the tent that would include a fleece carpet for the living area, just giving you a bit of comfort underfoot. There's a footprint available to go under the tent, which will allow you when pitching to pitch the tent on top of that, so that when you take the tent down, you're going to have a clean and dry ground sheet on the tent itself. We also have a front extension available for the tent here that would just give anybody looking for a little bit more outside living space that opportunity. So there you have it, that's all the features of the Birdland 5E from our deluxe collection. Thanks very much for watching.